This is a waterway that holds the world's economy by a thread, a sliver of sea, a flashpoint between nations where a single miscalculation could send shockwaves through every major market on the planet. But why does this seemingly remote stretch of water, wedged between Iran and Oman, matter so much? It's the passageway for a staggering percentage of the planet's energy, the lifeblood of industry flowing toward Asia's booming economies. Here, the water is constantly crisscrossed by the shadows of warships, while radar stations onshore keep a relentless watch from the cliffs. Fast attack boats zip across the surface, their hulls cutting through the waves like blades. Drones hum overhead, and below the surface, the threat of naval mines turns every passage into a calculated risk. In this confined space, every route feels like a target, every transmission a piece of a high-stakes game. A single confrontation here wouldn't just cause a ripple, it would be a tidal wave. Destabilizing shipping lanes, spiking energy prices, and shaking political alliances far beyond the Gulf's shores. And yet, to define this place solely by its tensions is to see only half the picture. Beneath the shadow of military power lies a world of unexpected beauty. Imagine beaches where the sand is the color of dried blood, blending with the turquoise water like a splash of paint on a canvas. Inland, valleys explode in a spectrum of colors, from ochre and gold to deep crimson. There are salt caves that glisten like cathedrals of crystal, and ancient fortresses that have stood sentinel over this sea for centuries. Join us as we explore this paradox, the Strait of Hormuz, where geopolitical danger, centuries of history, and hidden, breathtaking beauty converge at the edge of the world. This narrow channel forms the only maritime link between the Persian Gulf and the open ocean. For global energy markets, it's the ultimate choke point. A colossal 21% of the world's petroleum consumption passes through this corridor. The majority of that crude, over 70%, is destined for the hungry markets of Asia, making its security a paramount concern for economic powerhouses like China, Japan, and India. So, what does that constant pressure look like on the water? It feels anything but accidental. Naval forces from multiple nations are a constant presence, conducting escort missions, surveillance flights, and military drills against a backdrop that seems serene but is perpetually on edge. The geography itself leaves no room for error. Every vessel must follow a designated path. There's nowhere to hide. Every movement is tracked, every signal is analyzed. In this compressed space, distances shrink, and the weight of every decision multiplies. The power of this place isn't in its size, it's in its concentration. A vast portion of the world's seaborne oil and a significant chunk of its liquefied natural gas are forced through this narrow gateway daily. A single day of disruption here would send a tremor through refineries, shipping schedules, and financial centers on distant continents. It's a stark paradox. A global economy that deals in massive networks and enormous numbers still relies on a passage barely a few dozen kilometers wide for its energy security. Control here isn't always about conquest. Sometimes it's simply the power to interrupt. Consider Keshem Island, a long, rugged slab of land lying just off Iran's southern coast, hugging the strait like a stone guardian. To one side is the Persian Gulf, narrowing into the crucial passage. To the other lies mainland Iran, bristling with ports and military infrastructure. The island itself appears dry and austere, its landscape seemingly barren. But this is an illusion. The calm is strategic. Keshem's position allows it to watch the world's most vital energy artery at intimate range. The numbers alone tell the story. In a recent year, around 20 million barrels of oil passed through these waters daily, alongside a fifth of the global LNG trade. From this vantage point, geography becomes a weapon. Shipping lanes are compressed, surveillance is close range. A tanker passing through isn't just sailing, it's entering a carefully calculated field of influence. That's why this landscape feels militarized. Iranian naval forces and missile batteries are woven into the fabric of this coastline, turning Keshem into a key component of a pressure-based strategy. The logic is timeless. Control the gateway, and you influence everything beyond it. The only thing that's changed over the centuries is the sophistication of the sensors. Then there's Hormuz Island itself, a small volcanic landmass located on the inner curve of the strait, close to where the Persian Gulf begins to funnel into the Arabian Sea. This island is more than just a name. It's a front-row seat to one of the most intensely monitored stretches of water on Earth. From its shores, radar stations lock onto the channel, and patrol boats weave through the crowded lanes. Military outposts overlook it all. Across the wider strait, Iran fields a formidable arsenal of dozens of fast attack craft designed to overwhelm larger vessels with swarm tactics. This naval power is supported by coastal missile batteries and naval bases strung along the shoreline. Anti-ship missiles, with ranges extending well over 100 kilometers, can reach most of the waterway. Drones add another layer of visibility, an ever-watchful eye in the sky. In certain sections, the inbound and outbound shipping lanes shrink to just a few kilometers each. Giant tankers, their movements predictable, are forced to follow these tight routes. For a military strategist, the implication is instant. A small island next to a narrow gate isn't just real estate. It's a position of immense strategic value. It's not just Iran that plays a pivotal role on this chessboard. Oman, on the opposite shore, commands its own piece of the puzzle. Picture a wall of mountains plunging directly into the sea. This is the Musandam Peninsula, the northernmost tip of Oman, jutting into the Strait of Hormuz like a stone bastion. From above, its coastline fractures into a maze of deep, fjord-like inlets that provide perfect hidden harbors and observation points. Across the narrow channel lies Iran, and between them flows that critical maritime highway. The shipping lanes here are narrow, with inbound and outbound corridors separated by a sliver of open water. Every tanker entering or exiting the Gulf must adhere to these precise routes. Predictability invites surveillance, and surveillance invites strategy. Oman acts as the region's eye, operating a traffic separation scheme from a radar station perched atop Jebel Harim, a mountain over 2,000 meters high. Their official mission is to prevent collisions in this tight space. But the military reality is ever-present. Iranian forces patrol the northern shore, their anti-ship missiles covering much of the corridor. Meanwhile, Western and regional navies conduct routine patrols to protect commercial vessels. That's why the Musandam Peninsula is so crucial. The mountains don't just overlook the sea, they overlook leverage. In a corridor this narrow, geography is strategy. Here, the radars of opposing sides are locked in a silent, 24/7 stare-down. Imagine being a sailor in the narrowest part of the strait. At its most constricted point, between Larak Island and the Musandam Peninsula, the water is only about 33 kilometers across. But the usable shipping lanes are a fraction of that. Just 3 kilometers wide in each direction, separated by a narrow buffer zone. This geometry forces some of the world's most valuable cargo into straight, predictable lines. For years, nearly a third of the world's seaborne oil trade has been squeezed through this single point. Thousands of commercial vessels navigated annually, carrying the energy that powers industries, cities, and power grids around the globe. In such a compressed space, the value of fast attack craft, coastal missiles, drones, and patrol aircraft is magnified. On a wider ocean, they are tools of surveillance. Here, they become instruments of pressure. This isn't just a passage, it's a trigger point. There have been moments when American warships and Iranian patrol boats have closed to such a distance that sailors on both sides could see each other's faces through binoculars. Their radio broadcasts a tense dialogue over the sound of the waves. Yet, amidst this landscape of modern tension, history stands silent and steadfast. Rising from the red earth of Hormuz Island, its walls facing the restless water, is the Portuguese fort. A relic of a bygone era, its thick stone walls have watched over this narrow sea for centuries. From its ramparts, the horizon is wide, a deceptive calm that belies the strategic importance of the waters below. Built in the early 1500s after the Portuguese seized the island, its purpose was to command the rich maritime trade routes linking India, Persia, and Arabia. Ship by ship, they built a fortress to guard one of the most valuable passages in the known world, where vessels carried spices, silk, pearls, and silver from distant ports. Today, the fort feels weathered but patient. Empty arches frame the sea, and the sound of waves echoes in the courtyard. Empires have crumbled, trade routes have evolved, but this fort remains a quiet witness, a stone sentinel for a passage that has never lost its significance. Shifting from the heat of geopolitical strategy to the ingenuity of daily life, we find Laft, an old town on Keshem Island. Here, narrow alleys wind between houses built of coral and clay, but look up. Rising above the rooftops are dozens of slender towers, wind catchers. They are a testament to human adaptation, designed to funnel cool air into homes below. When the wind blows in from the sea, the towers whisper, carrying a century's worth of stories. For generations, this port watched the busy strait, its harbor sheltering the wooden dhows that traveled from Arabia to Africa and India. Today, life is slower, but the wind catchers still stand, quiet reminders of a community that learned to live with the heat and the sea. This ingenuity is recognized globally. The traditional skills of building and sailing these Iranian lenge boats, a craft still practiced on Keshem's shores, are inscribed on UNESCO's list of intangible cultural heritage. Here, the skeletons of wooden vessels rise from the sand, their curved beams like ribs. Craftsmen work with saw, hammer, and a patience born of tradition, constructing vessels that can measure over 30 meters long, built entirely by hand. When a finished dhow finally touches the water, it joins a lineage that has sailed these ancient routes for centuries. And if the shipyards are a cultural treasure, then the island's landscape itself is a geological masterpiece. Keshem is home to the Middle East's first UNESCO Global Geopark. The terrain is a manuscript written in stone, revealing salt domes, folded hills, and valleys carved by water that vanished ages ago. This is where the planet shows its age. We must also journey to Hormuz Island, where geology becomes art. In Rainbow Valley, the ground unveils an astonishing palette of minerals. Layers of iron oxide, sulfur and salt paint the hills in bands of vivid color. Slopes of crimson descend into ridges of gold and orange, with dark volcanic rock acting as brushstrokes. No human hand could arrange this. The planet did, using heat, pressure, and eons of time. What kind of island hides rivers of salt beneath its surface? Deep within Hormuz lies one of the Persian Gulf's most unusual features, a vast salt cave. Here, the air cools and walls of white and amber salt shimmer, reflecting subtle tones of gold, pink, and gray. The surface is smooth in some places, jagged in others, where mineral crystals have grown over centuries. A hidden world of crystals and chambers where the earth slowly transforms solid rock into a luminous labyrinth. Returning to the Omani side, we find the Arabian fjords of the Musandam Peninsula. Towering desert mountains plunge steeply into the blue water, creating deep inlets carved over millennia. From the water, the cliffs are immense, their pale rock rising in silent steps above narrow bays. Traditional wooden boats glide across the surface, fishermen traveling between small villages tucked into the shoreline. The desert doesn't end at the shore here, it simply falls into the sea. Rising above these fjords is Jebel Harim, the peninsula's highest peak. Its slopes are ancient limestone, formed beneath a prehistoric ocean. Fossils of coral and shells are still embedded in the rock, a reminder that these heights were once underwater. The landscape is harsh, yet life persists. Arabian tar? Agile. Mountain goats navigate the steep cliffs. Desert foxes hunt through rocky ravines at dusk. Birds of prey circle on the thermals. This is a fragile ecosystem, shaped by heat, wind, and altitude, proving that even the harshest landscapes can sustain life. And so we arrive at our final destination, Kumzar, a remote village at the northern tip of Musandam. Isolated by rugged cliffs and accessible only by boat, life here moves to a different rhythm. Fishing boats leave the harbor at dawn, nets dry along the shore, and children walk narrow paths between stone houses that face the sea. The people speak Kumzari, a rare language found almost nowhere else. It's a linguistic blend of Persian, Arabic, and older dialects, a testament to centuries of maritime trade. In this small village, an ancient culture survives, rooted in the rhythms of fishing, weather, and tradition. Voices travel across the harbor in a language carried through generations. In Kumzar, culture endures through a deep bond between sea, mountain, and community. Our journey through the Strait of Hormuz draws to a close. The geopolitical tension remains, a taut line stretched across the sea. But you will now remember more than the conflict. You'll remember the red sand kissing the waves, the cliffs and mineral valleys, a painting still waiting for its name, the cold, shimmering salt caves, the ancient fortresses, guardians of time. Hormuz, then, is not merely a military flashpoint. It carries a strange, quiet allure. Even along one of the most tense maritime routes on Earth, nature continues its patient work of creation. If this journey has given you a new perspective, we invite you to explore more with us. Like this video and subscribe to Winds of Thought. Thank you for watching.